So this boy by the name of Matthew had a means of protecting himself. A Mossberg 500 just like this right here. But what happened to him during this heinous black bear attack was outlandish. So Danielle and Matthew, a couple from Wisconsin, and Danielle had a family who tried to continue supporting her, even though I think that she had somewhat of a mental illness, if you will. By the way, what's up, guys and gals? Iceman here. Welcome to Chilling Tales. If you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. We're going on about bear attacks here and other crazy stories. So, Danielle was about 25 years of age when this nightmarish attack occurred. She didn't really go to college or anything. She just sort of meandered for a while. She lost a bunch of weight at one point and she ended up looking really good, according to most men. She had this pale skin, these blue eyes, this sort of blonde hair that she would dye red. But she suffered to some extent from bipolar disorder. So she would jump from guy to guy to guy to guy, right? She had like 50 boyfriends by the time she was 25. And this one little guy by the name of Matthew, who came from California, she ended up going with for whatever reason. I think that she thought the guy was driven, this and that. The guy was younger than her. The guy was only 19 at the time, still living with mommy and daddy. But he must have somehow wooed her or psyched her out in thinking that he was, I don't know, a good mate or something. But nonetheless, they were very new in the relationship, and Matthew ended up flying to Wisconsin to visit Danielle. So, of course, what Danielle did was she rented a little cabin out in the woods near a lake in the wilderness of Wisconsin. And these two took their little Subaru and headed out. Now, strangely enough, this rental cabin actually had a shotgun parked up on right above the front door. It was kind of like this on the front door. A 12 gauge. Now, I don't think Matthew ever touched a gun in his life. I know Danielle did. She had a couple pistols. But unfortunately, they were in her car when this attack occurred. So they drove down this winding road. Beautiful October sky. Little birds chirping, little bugs hissing, going off. Just the sounds of night, the sounds of wonder, the sounds of adventure, the sounds of peace and harmony. But of course, those sounds were soon faltered. They made it to the cabin, and they were warned by family members to look out for the bears, right? The bears were known to rummage through trash in the area. These hulking black bears, these big beady eyes, big thick skulls, massive sharp shiny fangs, big yellow bacteria-ridden claws. These creatures of opportunity. But Danielle was sort of furry, if you will, in those days. This was in, I don't know, early 2010s or whatever, when that little furry thing was popular. She would often dress as a little fox, post herself on social media, put little ears on, just try to make herself all cute and anime-ish. So she had this sort of maybe unhealthy relationship with the idea, anyway, of animals that should otherwise be considered potentially dangerous. You know? Black bears being one of them. They go down this road. Nice little cabin. Had a shower outside. All right. It was very rustic. Little shower thing where it would catch the rainwater and one would have to go under it and use a little tube and shower with it. So we'll get to that in just a minute here. But they go into the cabin. They sort of make themselves at home. Danielle demands that Matthew copulate with her. Now, Matthew was sort of a smaller guy in stature, right? Danielle, granted, she was cute and, I don't know, had some feminine features about her physicality. She was also a bit of a masculine chick. She just had this sort of aggressive energy about her that might have come with her disorder. I don't know. But she demanded that Matthew copulate with her. So, not to get into too much detail, he bent her over the kitchen counter and just began slamming into her. Boom, 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 right? She was all done up like a whore. Just trying to give you guys the details here. You know, you guys can do what you want with the story, but I'm just trying to give you the facts. So Matthew was slamming against her, boom, 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 and this little window was in front of him, right? The little kitchen sink in this window, and it was dark outside. You could see the moonlight, you could see the tree line. You could see the clouds passing through, and there's a little porch right outside the window. Of course, Danielle was making all the gestures of euphoria. Oh, hit me harder, hit me harder, hit me harder. Begging him to strangle her or something. She was into that. So Matthew was all, wrapping his arms around his neck, just sort of grabbing on a little choke can like a dog and just choking her. And that's when it happened. As crazy of timing as it was. He was ramming against her over the kitchen table, and all of a sudden, they see this dark black figure, like a phantom in the night, just pass along the deck right outside the window. And they could feel it. It felt like thunder. Instantly, Danielle's eyes widened. What was that? Get off me! And she pushed him off of her. And they were terrified. They thought it must have been an animal, maybe a moose or something. Maybe a big deer. Maybe an elk. But it was just gone and it was silent. They stopped what they were doing and they sort of just cuddled on the couch in front of the fire for a little while. There's this old couch and some fire against the wall, it's a little fireplace with a chimney going up. It was a wood fire, wood burner. So they put some wood in there and they just sat in the fire, just sort of shivering, just wondering, kind of fearing a bit. But as the hours passed, they stopped being concerned, and they started falling asleep. Matthew fell asleep, and Daniel felt gross. She's very particular about her body. She really wanted to wash up, especially after what they were doing. And after this man that she sometimes likes, sometimes does not, was touching her. So she slipped outside without telling him. And she used that little shower contraption outside, and she just started cleaning herself off, the water, just getting her face wet, just rubbing her body down, just all over, just getting all whatever Matthew had on her off of her. And that's when I think something began taking notice to her. It was a black bear. Danielle begins batting herself off with a towel. She has her hair up in the towel, boom, 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 all tied up. She puts on a little bathrobe. And then she corners around the cabin, up back into the porch, and then enters through the little flimsy doors. Just one of those flimsy little doors that flops inward. Bum, 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 So she walks to the door, and that's when the creature follows her. this hulking bear was watching her take a shower like a creep, and it followed her around her house, up her porch, and into the cabin door. And that's when it struck her. The door flung behind the bear, and it made a little shutting sound, just sort of against the door frame. And it startled the bear, and it instantly, ears back, head down, it just tackled Danielle to the ground. And she was screaming bloody murder. It was just, it was on top of her. Like, have you ever seen a bear? Like, you can see those videos on YouTube of the sloth bears attacking the men in India. They get on top of them like this, and they wrap their jaws around them, around their neck, their shoulder, their chest, and they just start thrashing and thrashing and thrashing and thrashing and thrashing. So Danielle's just getting ragdolled by this bear. You know? I can't sound like her, but she had the high-pitched, like a bunny getting ripped to shreds by a cat. And Matthew, that coward of a man, awakened from his slumber. And he sees her just getting shredded up by this monster. Oh! Oh! Just terrified. And the bear just whoa, 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 and it slams her little body against the wall. So Matthew, startled, just he looks up at the door and he notices the shotgun. He decides to stand up, grab it. He cocks it. He chambers around, and nothing. He pulls the trigger, and he can't pull it. There's something jammed. All right, it doesn't fully rack the shell. It's like he just sees the bear, and then he tries to pull the trigger, and just nothing happens. Right, and this bear looks back at him like a gorilla. Looks back at Daniel, looks back at Matthew, sees how small-statured of a man he is, looks back to Daniel, and grabs her by the neck and picks her up and starts slamming into the door, just trying to take her out of the cabin. Just boom, 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 just slamming against the damn door. Just blood splattering all over the ground. Matthew's terrified by this, and he doesn't know how to use the damn gun. All right? It's a Mossberg 500. You rack the damn shell. It has a safety thumb right here. But there was something, it didn't rack. You didn't push it forward hard enough. You see what I'm saying? You got to push it forward hard enough to get the damn thing to rack. And he just went like this. He went like this. He went like that. And he was pulling the trigger, just nothing. It's like, You know, this boy, he wasn't familiar with firearms like I said. All right? He wasn't familiar with defending himself or others for that matter. So what he did next was insane. All right? Now, I knew a guy who actually did something like this, but it was with a paintball gun. He wasn't in this sort of situation. The guy I knew with the paintball gun, he's having a paintball war with his buddies. Paintball gun stopped working, so he looked down the damn barrel. All right? You guys got to be, I mean, it's disturbing thinking about the guy who lost his eye. Okay? I don't know if there's still gas in the chamber, if he accidentally pulled the trigger. I don't know. But this Matthew guy, yeah, you'd think that stuff wouldn't happen. I mean, when you're a kid, like this friend of mine was, you know, high energy teenage boy. I mean, the world's your oyster. Sometimes you make mistakes. You're just not really thinking through. But this Matthew guy was, you know, he was 19 years old. You'd think he would have known better, but he looked down the damn barrel. And he's like, ah! And he sort of just bats the gun, and he's shaking and shaking. Ah! It's not shooting. And the bear's slamming his little girlfriend against the door. Boom, 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 boom. Ah! You know, the girl's just screaming bloody death. It has her right by her bicep and just thrashing her around by it like this, just slamming her against the door, then ragdolling her and slamming her against the door and then ragdolling her. So Matthew looks down the barrel of the gun. And that's when it goes off. I think his finger was on the trigger, and he ended up racking it then. So it was ready to shoot because his finger was holding down the trigger, and he racked it up and boom! And it blows through part of his face, right? It takes off some of his face right here, just the skin along the skull. I mean, it doesn't go into his brain or anything. It just sort of, it's birdshot in there. It goes, oh! But birdshot is devastating at close range. It could go through a person. It could go through their midsection. It stays in a big wad. But fortunately, this one just scathed his face. Boom! The gun just goes flying. And Matthew just sort of falls back. Ah! Just blood shoots up to the ceiling. And Danielle hears this hell going on as she's getting ravaged by this bear. Matthew falls to the ground, his bloody carcass in desolate desperation. The bear wonders what the F just happened. The bear sees this guy fall to the ground and blood everywhere. The blood splatters on the bear's shoulder from this guy's face. And the bear looks back and he sees this guy on the ground and looks back to Danielle. So then the bear grabs Danielle again and starts beating against the door. Boom! 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 And finally it breaks through. Boom! And it just breaks the door open through the frame. And it just goes rolling down the porch stairs with Danielle in its mouth. And they both just go rolling down together. And the bear is terrified at this point. Matthew's on the ground just bloody. Ah! Part of his face just ripped off. He lost part of his eye. Right? His ear, his eye, his lips, his cheek, his hairline. It was just hideous. But at that point, Danielle was begging for mercy. She's on her back. Ah, help me! Just begging for mercy. And this boy was stunned over what just happened. He just couldn't move. It was like temporal paralysis, all right? And the bear grabs that woman again and vanishes out in the woods with her. All right? And her screams and moans dissipate in the night. Matthew had to come to his senses, his face half blown off by this shotgun. Calls the cops. Helicopter comes scouring through. Cop cars show up. They start going through the woods trying to find that girl. All they find is little Cash with her half buried, still moaning in the cache. Bear shat and pissed all over her. And the bear vanished into the night like a phantom. They never found the bear. The little cabin was just torn to pieces, just destroyed. They broke up not long after. I don't know. I mean, he was real ugly after that. Yeah, that Danielle chick was very vain. Like I said, she had some problems. Plus, she probably knew he did a horrible job at trying to save her life. But I mean, I don't really know the details. I'm not really here to judge him so much, but you know what I'm saying? That's why you got to be careful in bear country. Always be prepared. And be careful if you're using a damn firearm. You never know how it's going to go. But anyway, if you guys will, let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on that story? Like the video if you will. And I'll see you tomorrow with more chilling tales from the Iceman.